Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Martin Simon, Assistant Town Attorney. To his left is Blaise Donadio, a Senior Planner in the Planning Department. You're all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you're requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide us with precise and accurate information so we as a board can make a decision based on the facts presented. This board must consider the 5 area variance considerations in order to render a decision, and they are as follows. They're listed here. You have up on there? You don't have them? Okay. They are as follows. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings and mailings to Mr. Donadio if you haven't done so already. Then you will go to the podium, we will state your name and address for the record, and then proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can go back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 2 ways to find out about your case. You can call the planning department tomorrow after 12 p.m., or you can wait and be notified by mail. We do have one adjournment tonight, and that is case number 1-17981. David Amondi? Anyone here for that case? No? That case has been adjourned to the next meeting, which is November 19th. All right, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda, case number 19202, Ryan Gale, 14 Fortune Court, Comac. The location of the property is the east side of Fortune Court, 102 feet south of Cameo Road. The property is owned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 17 feet for an existing 757 square foot rear roof over paver patio. Increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the rear yard from 25% to 40% for an existing rear yard paver patio.
Good evening.
Good evening. Martin A. Passante, 178 Bayview Avenue, Northport, New York, for the applicant.
Do you have power of attorney?
I'm the architect. The homeowner's here.
Oh, can they come up first?
Sure.
I need the homeowner.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Hello.
Just state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Jamie Gale, 14 Fortune Court, Comac, New York, 11725.
Thank you. Would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
Please.
Fine. Thank you. Now, could you just state your name and address for the record? Spell your last name so we get it correct on the record.
Martin, and then Passante, 178 Bayview Avenue, Northport, New York.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. We're seeking relief for built prior. They built a covered porch in the backyard, not realizing they were going to require a variance for this. So hence it got stopped, and we're here. Also, the paved area, pavers around the pool exceeded the maximum paved area in the backyard. That is the other variance that we're seeking.
The pavers are around the pool,
Yes,
and they extend down to a walkway?
right. It's the, I mean, this actually, the pictures depict it
Yeah, I have
pretty
it
good,
here.
yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, the covered patio occupies a lot of the paved area, and then the patio around the pool occupies paved area. There's no pavers in the front yard. The front yard is all grass.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you. If you could just stop by when the hearing's over. Thanks.
No, thank you.
Nothing? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
No problem.
And thank you. Okay. The next case on the agenda, case number 19203, Darren and Anna Maria Daniels, 29 Elderwood Drive, St. James. The location of the property is the west side of Elderwood Drive, 157 feet south of Old Wood Road. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 55 feet for a proposed 331 square foot front porch.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Are you the applicant?
Yes,
Okay. You just state your name and address
sure.
for the
Anna
record?
Maria Daniels,
And your address, Anna Marie?
29 Elderwood Drive, St. James.
Thank you. And would you like this gentleman to
Yes,
speak on your behalf?
please.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, hello.
Okay, could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure,
Spell
my name-
your last name?
My name is Jason Merkel, Merkel. My address is 11 Sims Street, SIMS. That's in Patchogue, New York. And I am the architect here for the project.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm here representing the Daniels family. They are looking to put a covered front porch onto the front of their house. The porch would require a 5-foot variance into the front yard. One of the supplemental images that I sent just recently passed out now is just some houses in the area. I can't say these houses required variances to get this, but it is the similar style to the houses in the area. So I don't think it would produce any undesirable change to the neighborhood. We couldn't really we couldn't really accomplish this any other way besides the variance. Having a shorter porch would just be sort of unusable for the homeowners. As I mentioned earlier, the requested variance is only of 5 feet, so I don't believe that that is a substantial variance. We don't the proposed variance wouldn't impact the environmental conditions or the neighborhood. It wouldn't be blocking any views of the neighborhood or the neighbors or anything like that. And then, yes, technically this was allegedly self-created. This difficulty is their desire to have, the covered front porch. They get a lot of sunlight in the afternoon, and it's just, very hot for them. They want to protect the front yard from some of the sun and, have a desirable space for them.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19205, Leah Betts, 12 Lakeview Drive, Kings Park. The location of the property, the west side of Lakeview Drive, 44 feet north of Rosewood Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 4 feet, to reduce the total side yard setback from 28 feet to 19 feet for an existing 12-foot by 24-foot above-ground pool with a 112-square-foot pool deck. Reduce the required front yard setback from 25 feet to 0 for an existing 6-foot PVC fence.
Good evening.
Hello, how are you? My name is Leah Betts, and I reside at 12 Lakeview Drive, and I would like Carmine to represent me.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Carmine Grasso from Cataldo Grasso Architects, office at 14 Carl Avenue in Smithtown. I submitted the mailing receipts and affidavits to the planning department this afternoon. I represent Mrs. Betts in her application for variances for her existing pool, deck, and fence. The pool and deck were constructed in 2020 during COVID to provide a safe way for her young children to swim without having to go to public pools, which obviously were closed at that point. When they erected the pool, they were unaware that the pool and the deck were placed in the required side yard. In fact, only the front portion of the pool and the deck are in the required side yard. If the pool wasn't in the side yard, then it would only need a minor variance of 2 feet. So the pool was installed in this location because they wanted to maximize the rear yard space for the children so they can play, and also to provide visual ability for them to see the pool from the deck when they're out in the backyard. As far as the fence goes, that actually replaced an existing wood fence. Obviously, that fence probably didn't have a permit either. And it does drop down to 4 feet in height as it gets closer to the front property line. So with regard to the area variance considerations, whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood, we feel that it wouldn't. The pool and the deck have existed for over 4 years, and the fence has existed for over 20 years without any impact on the adjacent properties. Whether the benefit could be sought, the applicant can be achieved by some other method that's feasible. Not really. The pool is located, like I said, towards the side of the property to maximize the rear yard and provide visibility. Whether the requested variance is substantial, again, the setback request is minimal if the pool was not partially in the building envelope. And then whether the proposed variance will have an adverse impact on the physical environmental conditions. There's only a minimal increase in energy usage due to the pool, and there's no increase in sanitary flow. And finally, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. It was only self-created in the fact that the applicant was unaware of the setback situation and the fact that it was in the required building envelope. So when they had the pool installed, and the fence was a replacement of an existing fence, so they didn't realize that there was any issue with that at all. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes, the fence drops down to 4 feet.
Yes.
As it comes out of the driveway. That large shrub, is that your client's or is that the neighbor's?
That actually, I believe, is on the neighbor's property.
That's on the neighbor's.
I know. It's when I saw that, it's really like right out to the street.
I was just wondering if they have any difficulty getting out of the driveway.
Yeah, because you could see on the lower right-hand picture that it's towards the neighbor's driveway. Yeah, it's
Right. But it's the neighbor's?
Yeah, it's definitely on the neighbor's property.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning,
No, thank you.
Sabrina.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, one minor comment. The property is located within the New York State DEC River Corridor, and we recommend the applicant contact DEC to determine whether they need permits or written notification that permits are not required for the proposed or existing work.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19206, Yvonne Waskowitz, 3 Starlight Drive, Comac. The location of the property is the east side of Starlight Drive, 78 feet south of Pickwick Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 27 feet for a proposed 420 square foot rear one-story addition and proposed 147 square foot rear deck.
Good evening.
Hi, Yvonne Waskowitz, 3 Starlight Drive in Comac.
And would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
Yes, my architect.
Fine, thank you. You can sit down. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Munoz, M-U-N-O-Z, from Todd O'Connor Architects, 1200 Veterans Memorial Highway, Hopog, New York, 11788. We're proposing a one-story addition with a deck that is encroaching into the required 50-foot rear setback. The one-story addition is located 34 feet from the property line, and the deck is 27 feet. We think that it's not a big negative impact on the adjacent neighborhoods. You really can't see it from the street. It's a addition to the back. The backyard is actually heavily wooded or screened with, I don't know if there's a aerial, but there's trees around the whole property that you can't really see the proposed addition. Although the variance was self-created by the proposed addition, we explore other ideas where we may be putting the addition parallel to the house as opposed to perpendicular to the kitchen, but it was just on a split level house. It was taking too much room and blocking the entrance from the ground level to their rear yard. There's also currently an existing patio in gray that if we were to put the dining room, supposedly turn it 90 degrees, it would, you would just lose the whole patio as opposed to the way it is located as proposed. There's really no environmental issues with this addition. I mean, any runoff water will be properly dealt with any proposed dry wells as needed. And if you have any other questions.
I'll ask. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. Do you have your affidavit of posting?
I think we mailed that to you.
Mailed it?
Yep.
Okay.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
There you go. Never mind. Never mind. The next case on the agenda, case number 19207, Catherine O'Neill, 344 Gibbs Pond Road, Nesconset. The location of the property is the southwest corner of Gibbs Pond Road and Nichols Road. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 60 feet to 46 feet for an existing 197 square foot deck and existing 83 square foot second-story deck.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Catherine O'Neill, and my address is 344 Gibbs Pond Road, Nesconset, and I would like Mr. Castellano to speak for me.
Fine. Thank you.
you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Louis Castellano, 2693 Middle Country Road, Lake Grove, New York. Good evening, members of the board. I don't know if you've visited the site at all, but if you've passed the site over the years, Mrs. O'Neill has added a lot of value to the house, cleaned the whole site, redid the house. Unfortunately, she added a deck on without a permit. We're here for a rear yard permit for a second-story deck from where 60 foot is required and we only have 46 feet. Otherwise, we're in conformance with everything else.
Does the deck step down to another deck?
No,
No?
no.
Stairs go directly
It's-
down?
Yeah. I believe you can see it in the photo right there. There's no stairs. There's no stairs on the second story deck.
I was just looking, it says 2.5-foot high composite deck.
That's on the side of the house as it goes around.
Oh, it's
There's
on
a
the other
deck, yeah, the
side.
deck goes around the whole house.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No comments on the application, Mr. Chairman, but just a quick question for Lou. When you're traveling down Nichols Road, there is a lot of overgrown shrubbery, wild stuff, trees that kind of hang out into the road, kind of block your view when you're going around that curve. Would it be possible just to cut it back a little bit to improve the line of sight?
Absolutely. We've gotten rid of a lot of it already. I don't know if you passed it at all, but we've gotten rid of a lot. The site was a disaster when she bought it. But they have cleaned up a lot of it. But we'll take care of that, not a problem.
Thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Do you have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19208, Gabriella Popetti Dinis, 24 Genesee Drive, Comac. The location of the property, the south side of Genesee Drive, 260 feet east of Excess Place, excuse me. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 20 feet for an existing 913 square foot rear addition, to reduce the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 0 for an existing 238 square foot detached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Gabriela Popetti. I am the owner of the property. I represent myself. The extension of the house and the detached garage, they've been there since 1984. I bought the property in 2020. I just found out the information from the town, and I have the variance in regards to those, to the extension and to the attached garage. There is the neighborhood, it's not affected, not obstructed, and the environment is not also, it doesn't affect the environment as well. So,
You said the garage was built in 1994?
84,
84.
and the extension of the house as well.
Okay.
Hi.
And it's at the property line 0, only in one corner?
Only in
Right,
one
Only in one
corner,
corner, and then it goes out?
on an angle, actually.
Right, okay. All right, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
Only comment, Mr. Chairman, is the 0-foot setback is fairly substantial. That's it.
Sabrina?
Chairman, to ensure full compliance with our review, we want to take into consideration any information presented by the applicant, as well as any comments from the public before we make a recommendation to the board, so no decision can be made tonight.
Okay. So there'll be no decision on your case tonight? Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19209, Carrie Palmer, 316 Devon Lane, Smithtown. The location of the property, the southeast corner of Whisper Lane and Devon Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 feet to 20 feet for a proposed 19-foot by 32-foot in-ground pool.
Good evening.
Good evening, Carrie Palmer, 316 Devon Lane, Smithtown, New York, 11787. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak this evening for our variance request. This is Kara Dolch from John Joseph Pool, who's just been assisting us with the variance, but I'll speak on my own
Are you going to be
behalf.
speaking?
I can speak, it's okay.
I'm sorry?
I'll speak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just was
I was just
sharing
gonna
with
say,
you who
if
she
she's gonna
was.
speak, she has to introduce herself. That's all.
In case I forget anything. So we're requesting the variance for the pool placement in this area of the yard, as it is the safest and most optimal place for the pool. Otherwise, the pool would be directly right outside our back door, which would so, be a safety risk for our child. There's also wires on the other side of the yard that overhang, so we wouldn't be able to put the pool underneath the wires. The tree line along Whisper Lane will remain, so it will not impact the neighborhood views at all into our backyard. Did I miss anything? Okay.
Just a question.
Sure.
On the drawing that you submitted, it says the pool size is 17 by 30, and on your application, it's 19 by 32?
No, that's 17 by 30.
It's 17 by 30?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Cara Dolce from John Joseph Custom Pools. DOLCE. You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
The measurements of 19 by 32 are for the pool, including the coping that goes all around the edge of the pool. So the pool itself is 17 by 30. With the coping, it's 19 by 32.
Oh, okay. That answered my question. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Planning.
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? You have a motion to close the application, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Same to you. Good night.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19211, Michael Madden, 3 Quist Lane, Nesconset. The location of the property is the northeast corner of Lake Avenue and Quist Lane. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for a child, a variance to reduce the front yard setback on Quist Lane from 45 feet to 15 feet for a proposed 200 square foot shed and existing 6-foot PVC fence, to reduce the front yard setback on Quist Lane from 45 feet to 41 feet for a 46-square-foot front foyer, reduce the minimum front yard setback on Lake Avenue from 45 feet to 44 feet for a proposed 202-square-foot kitchen addition and proposed 36-square-foot second-floor front entry deck.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Michael Madden. I reside at 3 Quist Lane, Wisconsin, New York, 11767. I would like my architect, Robert, to speak on my behalf.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely.
Spell
Thank
your
you,
last
sir.
name so we get it correct.
Absolutely. My name is Robert Hine, owner of RH3 Group LLC, located at 107 Oceanside Street, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752. Last name is Hein, like catch without the Z. We're looking to have a special exception for an existing apartment in the first story, existing 440 square feet. We'll be looking to also extend that apartment to 640 square feet to also fall in line with the 4% of the lot, which is max 692. We'll be looking to have a second story addition on top of that to have the existing kitchen be expanded. That will be the 44.8 feet front yard setback off Lake, which will continue along the face of the existing wall. The 17.9 feet is the rear deck off of that to just have a way to get down to the rear yard. That is a Juliet with a single staircase. That falls in line with the existing rear face of the building where the existing master bedroom will fall. And then the front foyer will be adding a mudroom off the front. That 46 is 41 feet from the front yard on Quist. And then in order to not affect the existing masonry pavers around the pool, we were looking to provide the bump out of the fence for the new location of the shed, as the existing shed is located under the existing deck where we're going to be providing our bump out. And if there's any other questions, feel free to chime in and ask now.
Who is the apartment for?
The apartment will be for Michael Madden's daughter. I'm sorry, is it Kate? Yeah, Katie.
I'm sorry?
For Katie Madden, Michael's daughter.
Your daughter. Okay. Can I just ask how old she is?
She's 16.
16, okay. All right, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
Mr. Chairman, Planning prepared a planning advisory report reviewing the request, and upon our completion of the review, we recommended approval of the application.
Thank you. Sabrina?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to ensure full compliance with our environmental review, we wish to consider any new information presented by the applicant at tonight's hearing, as well as any comments from the public before we make a recommendation to the board. So no decision will be made tonight. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? You have a motion to close the application, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19212, Ross Reifman, 99 Smithtown Bypass, Hauppauge. The location of the property is the intersection of Smithtown Bypass and Town Line Road. The property is owned NB. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum parking setback from a side property line from 6 feet to 0, to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered for high groundwater, for proposed parking lot modifications associated with a change of use from bank to office.
Good evening.
Good evening. For the applicant, my name is John Farrell. I'm with the firm of Son, Ward, Braff, Cascignano. Our offices are at 1300 Veterans Memorial Highway, Suite 100, Hauppauge, New York. The subject property is approximately 1.46 acres in total lot area. It's improved with a two-story office building that's about 12,140 square feet. My client is looking to convert this property into an office for a medical provider, Zwanger-Pesiri. The conversion of the building from the bank use to the medical office or the office use triggers an additional parking requirement. We're required to have 91 spaces. There are presently 65 spaces, I believe, on the site. My client is proposing on the westerly side of the property to put 26 additional parking spaces, but he intends to land bank them. They don't believe they need them at the present time, but if it turns out they need them in the future, they have the option to put them in. So we need a variance to reduce the side yard setback from 6 feet to 0 for the parking, and then we need the permit to alter the environmentally sensitive lands for the high groundwater. If you look at this application, the board has to conduct a balancing test and weigh the benefit to the applicant against the detriment to the community. You have to consider those 5 factors and whether an undesirable change would be created in the character of the community. I would submit that there will not be an undesirable change to the character of the community. The proposed variance is for additional parking in a commercial district on 2 very busy commercial roads. More importantly, the setback in question shares a property line with a recharge basin that's owned by the New York State Department of Transportation, and it is part of the right-of-way. So it's never going to be developed. So the impact from a reduced setback won't be noticeable or felt by any adjoining property owners. The next factor, obviously, is to determine whether or not there are any feasible alternatives. In order to add parking, there are no real feasible alternatives. We're here tonight because part of the reason we're here tonight is because of the high groundwater. So we can't go down and build a parking garage under the building, and we wouldn't want to deck a parking area here. So the most obvious choice after that is to develop the vacant portion of the west side of the property. And any change to that setback would throw off the parking and would cause us to lose approximately 11 to 13 of the proposed land bank spaces. The next factor, the substantiality. On its face, this is a 100% reduction, but I think you have to view it in light of the conditions that are out in the field. Again, this is adjacent to a sump that is a wooded area. It's not going to be noticeable to any, to the naked eye or to any, individual passing by. Then we get to, obviously, the environmental impact. At this time, I'd like to submit a letter from an environmental consultant, Advanced Cleanup Technologies.
Thank you.
Advanced Cleanup Technologies concludes in that letter that since we're not doing any physical construction outside of the bounds of the existing property, in other words, mostly what we're doing is improving the existing parking area and interior alterations, they've concluded that there won't be an impact. They did, however, note that if we do at some point in the future have to expand that parking and add those 26 land bank spaces, that we would have to do an appropriate drainage plan, which we agree with 100%. We would agree to any condition that the board would impose regarding the review of that condition before we started construction. Final factor is whether or not it's a self-created hardship. I guess arguably it is a self-created hardship, but that's just one factor that the board is designed to consider. It can't be the deciding factor in the denial of a variance. So with that, I would ask if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Just for the record, there's no change in the footprint of the building.
Correct.
This is just parking.
Correct. It's just a change from one use to the other, which requires more parking.
And you said it was Zango Pasiri?
Zwanger Pasiri is the proposed tenant.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Yeah, just a couple questions. On the site plan, you're showing 61 parking spaces is what's
Okay.
proposed, existing, that you'll put to use. And then there'll be 26 additional ones that will be land bank. I guess my
Right.
question would be, who determines if you would need to, and that's for planning too, if there is a shortfall of parking, there's really nowhere for any overflow. If there is a shortfall, is that a town decision to construct the additional parking spaces?
So I think that would be up to the town. I think it would be reasonable for the board to impose a condition that if the town determines that parking is a problem at this location, that, you know, we be called back for a hearing and you guys decide that the parking be imposed or something along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Planning?
No comments?
Sabrina?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as identified by the building department, the change of use requires approval from the Department of Health, as well as TDFRs to meet the proposed sanitary flow. This information is required in order to complete our environmental review. We have notified Mr. Farrell of their need to contact the Department of Health if they haven't already. Due to the presence of high groundwater on the property, we have notified the applicant that the submission of new test hole data within the past 6 months is required in order for us to complete our environmental review. And lastly, to ensure full compliance with our environmental review, we wish to consider information presented by the applicant, as well as any comments from the public before we can make a recommendation to the board. So therefore, no decision can be made tonight.
Thank you.
With regard to the health department, we are aware that we need health department approval. We are well into that process. Planning has been engaged with us. They are purchasing credits, which should be resolved in the next week or two. And so we're well on our way to getting the required health department approval. We are aware of the test hole, and my client has placed an order. We will have that done as quickly as possible.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19210, Edward R., 109 Shirley Court, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of Shirley Court, 197 feet west of Bayberry Lane. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 17 feet for a proposed 607 square foot first floor addition and proposed 1,345 square foot second floor addition and proposed 453 square foot side entry garage addition. Variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 75 feet to 64 feet for proposed 495 square foot rear addition and proposed 320 square foot rear porch. To increase the maximum gross floor area of the lot from 25% to 28%.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Edward R. I reside at 109 Shirley Court, Smithtown, New York, and I'd like my architect to speak on my behalf.
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Richard Searles. I'm an architect with offices at 55 Woodchuck Hollow Lane in Wading River, New York.
Can you spell your last name so we get it
Yes,
correct to the record, please?
S-E-A-R-L-E-S.
Thank you.
Okay. Basically, we were in the process of creating Mr. and Mrs. R's dream house. And in the process, we're looking to add some space on the first floor, front and rear, and put a second-story addition on the rear portion of the house. The variance to the front will be for us to pull the garage forward towards Shirley Court and to make it a side entry garage, which would be easier to access and turn in the center of the property. The front section, or the right-hand section of the house, does not get enlarged to the front. It does, yes, get enlarged to the rear, along with the rear extension to the back. I would like to also submit to the board that I have done some research, and the property to the west of this lot right here was granted variances very similar to what we were looking for from a prior submission. I'd like to submit them.
Yeah. Thank you. Is this the house on the corner?
The house on the corner, yes. There's a front yard setback of 14 feet, I believe, on one side, and is it 27 feet on the other side?
The house now has a garage. Is that being turned into living space?
Some of it is, yes. We're
Okay.
coming forward for some living space.
And then you're going to put a new garage on in front of it?
In front of it, and instead of a front entrance garage, it'll be a side entry. The second-story addition, which is the bulk of the visual height of it, is held to the back of the house. If you look at the elevations, you can see that the roof line comes down to the front, to a low plate in the front, and then rises up to the back, and the second story is like dormered in the back.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman. Regarding the setback in the front yard, the house to the west does have a reduced setback in the front yard. To be honest, I'm not sure if they were granted a variance or not at this point, which is nice that they submitted that. However, if you look at the overall neighborhood, most houses do meet the required setback in the area. And additionally, in the R21 zoning district, a 28% FAR is rather substantial.
I believe they were granted to 14 feet.
They were granted to 14 feet for one corner?
Yes. Would you like to see it?
Sure. So it looks like they were granted the 14 feet for a built prior garage. That's what it was for. The house itself has a setback of 25 feet from both corners in the front, both to Laurel Drive and Shirley Court.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sabrina?
Mr. Chairman, as identified by the building department, the current application to enlarge the existing single-family dwelling requires approval from the Department of Health. This information is needed in order to complete our environmental review. We have notified the applicant's representative of their need to contact the Department of Health. And lastly, we wish to consider information presented by the applicant as well as any comments from the public before we make a recommendation to the board, so no decision can be made tonight. Thank you.
You understand that?
Yeah, we will do a test hole data. Right now, the sanitary system is in the rear of the house. We would propose to abandon that system and put a new IA denitrification system to the front of the house, which would help mitigate some of the environmental issues if there were any. I think with regard to the other questions on the issue, what we're looking to do pretty much conforms to what was already approved to the house to the west. Again, with the height of, or the second-story addition is going to be pushed back, so visually, the house will not be that imposing from the front view. The roof goes up to the back, and the height of the back is the rear of the house.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't think so. We went through. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19204, JLP and Associates, Inc. The location of the property is Bayberry Lane in Smithtown, the east side of Bayberry Lane, 180 feet north of Churchill Lane. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum lot area from 21,780 square feet to 16,190 square feet, to reduce the minimum lot frontage at the setback line from 100 feet to 75 feet, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 15 feet, to reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 30 feet, for a proposed 2,937 square foot, two-story single-family dwelling with 372 square foot attached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. We've submitted affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. There is a history behind this parcel, and it's kind of interesting, I guess. The Board of Zoning Appeals in 1969 granted similar variances to this particular property. They were a little more forgiving to the client than what we're requesting for now. For example, the board then granted a 12-foot side yard variance. We're requesting basically two 15-foot side yards, which would be much closer to the 18 and 16 that's required. Obviously, the most substantial variance that we're requesting is from the 21,780 square foot to the 16,100 and change square footage. However, as this board knows, the beginning of the front of any property only requires a 40-foot setback at the road. As you move back, in this particular case, in R21, the requirement is 100 feet, and we're at 75 feet. However, when you look at it, and anybody walking down the street, we would think, really wouldn't notice the difference, as the side yard setbacks are so close than what is required in that particular zoning district. We're not asking for front or rear yard setbacks, and we're not asking for an FAR. So we meet all of those requirements, and I guess that's what the board looked at also in 1969. The health department, because this is a lot that was in existence prior to 1980, will grant approval for the construction of a one-family home. Also, I'd like to bring to the board's attention there is a letter from the neighbor to the north, Angelina Sweeney, which basically states that this particular piece of property is a hazard because of dead trees and standing wood on the ground, and possibility hazards for fire and so forth. and also states that it's an eyesore. I think the board might have it in its file. If it doesn't, I can submit the letter.
We have it along
Okay.
with a number of.
Number of pictures, yes.
No, not pictures. Other letters from residents.
Okay, I don't have those other letters, but I guess I'm going to find out about them.
assuming you will.
So we don't think that this is a real change in the character of the area, based upon the setup and how the applicant has designed the house. It's probably will look no different than any other house on a plot in that area. Whether the application, can this be achieved by any other method? Either you build a house or you don't build a house. As I said, we meet the FAR. We're almost good with the side yards. That's really all we could do there. If we can't build a house, we can't do anything. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, I guess if you look at it from the perspective of what the zoning is, it is. However, again, this board decided it wasn't substantial when they rendered a decision in 1969. Whether the variance will have any adverse impact on the physical or environmental characteristics of the neighborhood, no, it will get health department approval. They'll be required to put in a new septic system. So there wouldn't be any issues with the health department, and the environment as follows sewage flow. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, this has been going on a very, very long time. What happened prior to 1969, I really can't tell you, but apparently the board then thought it was a reasonable request, and we certainly think it's a reasonable request now. Otherwise, the property will remain vacant, and as Mrs. Sweeney says, it'll be a fire hazard and an eyesore. So we ask the board for its favorable consideration. Thank you.
When it was granted approval, you don't know what happened? Why nothing was built back in 1969?
No?
No?
No, we don't know why it wasn't. It's kind of a mystery as why it took so long.
Yeah. Same applicant or relatives of the same applicant?
No, different
Different
applicant.
Okay. All right. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning.
I don't really have anything to add, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Tramarko stated, there was a prior BZA case, case number 2830 from November of 1969, and the board at that time granted the applicant approval to reduce the lot area and granted variances to reduce setbacks in order to construct a home.
Sabrina? Okay. I'm assuming there's a number of people that want to speak, okay? Let me just go over how we're going to do this. You come up one at a time, introduce yourselves, state your name and address for the record, spell your last name so we get it correct. Everybody gets one opportunity, just one opportunity, speak your mind. When you're all done, Mr. Tramarko will come back to answer, hopefully, your concerns. Okay? Now, whoever wants to come up, come on up.
Let's maybe line up.
Or if you want to line up so we know.
Okay,
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Lisa Munoz, M-U-N-O-Z. My address is 67 Churchill Lane, and I submitted on the 19th to the Planning Department a sheet with my disapproval of bullet points.
Yeah, we have all
and
those on the record.
Yeah, okay. Pretty much, the houses in the neighborhood, he
Can you
says-
just speak into the microphone so we get everything on the record, please?
Sure. The houses in the neighborhood, he stated that this new house that they want to build is going to look similar, and the houses in the neighborhood look like this. I don't know if you can see it, but they're all rectangular houses, and the house that he's going to construct is it's square, and, oh, you can see it right there. So it's very, very square, very boxy. And the piece of property is very narrow, so in my opinion, that it looks like it's being sandwiched in there, sort of shoehorned on the property. It doesn't look like the houses in the rest of the neighborhood. Because when I moved there, the reason I moved to the area was because it was horse country, and all the properties were pretty large. They're half acre or better. And this property is less than a half an acre. And I don't know why they got a variance from the start, but to me, it should have been not allowed from the beginning. I've lived on this property for 30 years, or close to 30 years, and I feel like it just doesn't fit with the whole ambiance, the aesthetics of the area. And for me, I feel like the person that owns the property doesn't even live in the area. He lives in Huntington, and to me, they're selling it, they're trying to build on it because they want to make a profit. They want to sell it, make it look good, you know, try to put money in their pocket. And that's pretty much, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous, but I gave you a petition of all the signatures. I went from person to person and into the area, and they, the biggest reason that people objected to it is because it sort of sets a precedent for the area, that if they could subdivide that area, then they could do it to other houses in the neighborhood. And it sort of sets a precedent. And I went online and I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is the Smithtown Comprehensive Plan. And in this, some of the goals and objectives on page 14. I'll just read you. To preserve and protect the existing residential neighborhoods. And in that, they say that to establish bulk, density, design, and standards that are appropriate for various dwellings types and not overly intensive in relation to the lots on which a dwelling is situated in their respective zones. And then also it states regulations to preserve and enhance visual appearance of residential neighborhoods. And then on page 40, generally the residential districts are stable and the neighborhoods desirable and well-maintained. The town of Smithtown should not make substantial changes to sections of the zoning code that regulate residential zoning districts. The existing code is well-equipped to protect the community character of these well-established neighborhoods. And I mean, I could go on page 41. The town should consider the following recommendations relating to residential land uses. Residential land uses and neighborhoods in the town of Smithtown are stable, while demolition of older homes makes way to new construction of new homes are built on previously vacant land. The town of Smithtown should monitor residential demolitions and new constructions to ensure community character. Consistent home sizes is not altered or neighborhoods destabilized by lack of compatible scale. And right now, the plans that you see do not include the driveway or patio space. So I don't know if we're going to need another variance for that, or if, because I know that you cannot put, you know, between the house and patio and driveway, you cannot go over 25% on that piece of property. So, I mean, I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you
that's
very
enough.
much. Who's next? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Tackenberg, T as in Thomas, A-C-K-E-N. Tackenberg, T-A-C-K-E-N-B-E-R-G, and I reside at 31 Bayberry Lane. We are right next door to this house. When we bought our house, it was a foreclosure, and we went to the town. We asked, can you build here? They said, no, you cannot. I said, okay. So we fixed this house from the top to the bottom. We put everything into it, and the reason why we love the Pines is for the privacy and what is there. And now that's getting taken away. And I understand in 1969, they asked for a permit to build a house. Well, they should have built it then, because now they're not building on it. They're moving, and it's a contractor coming in to build who doesn't even live in our neighborhood. And I don't think it's fair, and I don't believe it's right. And I'm really not for it. And I'm scared that, too, they're gonna build a house in front of mine, so now I'm losing my sight when I look out my window. And that's my safety. I wanna be able to see down my block and make sure there's no one coming or nothing going on. So, not for it.
I just have a question for you.
Yeah.
I rode by there this morning.
Yeah.
It looks like, are people dumping in there? It looked like there's an old tractor or something in the back.
No, it's one of our figurines that's just over back there. It's not dumping. They were dumping when we first moved in, but we've kind of cleaned it up and made it more presentable.
Oh, it's yours
It's ours.
on their property?
It
On the brick?
rolled, yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Who's next? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Latanzi, Lattanzi. I have resided at 34 Bayberry Lane for over 33 years. I've always been proud to live on my street and in my neighborhood. Construction of the proposed house on undeveloped land of less than the required half-acre zoning would be very detrimental to the character and aesthetics of the neighborhood. The half-acre zoning is one of the key attributes which attracted me to purchase my property in this neighborhood. The proposed construction, along with the reduced setback of the house, would not be in line with existing homes on Bayberry Lane or in the Smithtown Pines neighborhood. The vast majority of homes were built in the 1960s. As one of the other residents mentioned, they are generally similar styles. Some are ranches, some are splits, some are colonials, but they all generally look the same. Not like what's being proposed on a very narrow plot. When you drove by, you probably saw, oh my goodness, how could a house fit in there? It would have to be sandwiched in. Also, to me, it's totally irrelevant that a zoning board made a decision regarding the property in 1969. I don't know what that has to do with anything in 1924, in 2024. It's totally irrelevant. So I'm very concerned about the character of the neighborhood, and I also believe that this would be very detrimental to the neighborhood. This is not someone who's existing resident looking to improve their home by, maybe adding a pool or a deck or a patio or something. It's someone looking to flip the land for a profit at the expense of the other residents.
All right, thank you. Who's next? Come on up, please.
I'm Mary Pellegrino, Pellegrino, and I live at 36 Bayberry Lane for 57 years. And we moved out here in 1967, and it was beautiful. It was a lot of farmland, but now that all the homes are built nicely, and this house here that looks like a matchbox, it was not going to do anything for Smithtown. And I really do not agree to have anything built there. I'd rather see it cleared up, get all the wood out, get all the dead trees out, and make it look nice and part of Smithtown. Because Smithtown is a beautiful town. That's why we moved out here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Pat Colucciello, Colucciello. I've been here 63 years. The house that was supposed to be built in 1969 was turned down because the people who were building it did not have the money at the time. There was a petition going around against it because they were building a large house, and the people around us at that time, there wasn't that many, asked if the house could be L-shaped so that the front was at the side, and this way it would give a longer, nicer appearance than the box. Now, certain things that I'd like to bring up is my husband was a builder, and he built houses in the Pines. And the reason the Pines is nice is because every house is different. Every house is what the people wanted. People want that house. Why shouldn't they have it? The property itself has caused a lot of problems. My neighbors across the street had to replace their fence 3 times because the property is not maintained. The person who owns it doesn't care. There has poison ivy all over the property. If a house was there, at least the house would make the property look better. If they had done anything to keep the property good, I would be for it. But it's not. It's a mess. Other people have dumped, and as I said, I know Mary and Frank, and they've been there with me for years, and we've seen the Pines grow. And the big thing about the Pines is that it is different, and it has become a beautiful place, and another house is just going to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who's next? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Angelina Sweeney. I live at 27 Bayberry Lane. My property borders
Can you
that
spell your last name so we get it correct, please?
Sweeeney.
Thank you.
I live at 27 Bayberry. My property borders over 200 feet to the north side of the property. I submitted a letter and pictures to the board. Did you receive them? Okay.
Just one sec. Everything that was submitted is in the record.
Okay.
All your letters that came in, pictures, whatever, it's in the record.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So I am here to say that I would approve a house being built there because the property is a mess. There are dead trees both standing on the ground, dead brush all over, poison ivy, as Pat just said, and it's a total mess. It has not been maintained, it's not cleaned up, and we've had a lot of damage over the years. And I just approve of a house being, it would look much better. And I don't understand how anyone could say that with the way the property is now, that a house would not look better on that property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Board. My name is Michael Burke. I live at 31 Bayberry Lane in Smithtown. I live adjacent to the property, and I am here to say that I've lived in Smithtown my whole entire life. My family has lived in Smithtown, and I've been a taxpayer here, just like everybody else in this room. When I moved into the Pines, I grew up in Smithtown, and the Pines was one of the prettier neighborhoods to live in. And that's where I wanted to reside for the rest of my life, is up at the Pines. So we found this home in Smithtown, and I put every penny I put into it, every single penny. I'm right next to that woods next door. It's not overgrown woods. Nobody dumps there. It's just regular woods. It's unfortunate that people have trees fall down over the fence. And I'm sorry, but, you know, that's what insurance is for. And it's minimal.
Excuse me, address the board.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the neighbors, because,
Just address the board and
but in any event, stuff happens. Trees fall off normal houses, or off normal yards into other people's yards, and fences are broken. That's just part of life. But when we moved into this house, I did, because my father was a real estate guy too. Not me personally, but my father was. He bought and sold homes over the years in Smithtown. That's why I said we lived all over the place in Smithtown as we grew up. But in any event, the home that I purchased there, I did some research into the woods next to it, wondering if it's going to infringe on our property at some point, and it was zoned for R21. And R21 in the Smithtown Pines is a half an acre of land. So me and my wife bought that property. We put every penny into it. And based on the laws of Smithtown with the setbacks and everything like that, for the house that they're putting in there, for the size of that house, for the way it has to be set into that piece of property, not only does it pass the back of my house, but well, not only does it meet the back of my house, but it goes beyond that. So now when I'm in my backyard and I walk out the back door to my house, I'm not even looking at somebody else's backyard. I'm looking at the side of somebody else's house. You know, and I just feel like these laws are put in place. I didn't move into this house and put every last penny and every ounce of sweat into this house. So somebody else that isn't, it's not zoned for it. And I'm sorry, I sound like a buffoon maybe up here because I'm nervous myself, but it's just I put everything into this house, and this is what the laws are. And just like everybody else does, I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, but we hear that, you know what, this land was inherited from somebody's family member, and they're trying to turn a profit on it. And listen, I have total respect for that. I understand. If you have a right to build on something, then you have the right to. But it's not in with the guidelines of the neighborhood or the laws that Smithtown has put forward. So why do I have to pay the price for it? And I sent you a letter. I sent the town of Smithtown a letter showing that I've been in contract with a real estate since February, because now I have to move. Now I have to move. Everything, all the money and everything that I put into my house, I can't walk out my back. I put a beautiful in-ground pool, we pavers, everything. Our backyard is absolutely beautiful. And now it's going to be all taken away because of a piece of property that someone's trying to make some money off that isn't in with the guidelines of what the town expects it to be. And back in 1969, it was their family that was trying to put a house up. Not some random, you know, it was passed on from generation to the next generation. But I don't know, that's all I have to say. I hope you understand and just hear where I'm coming from. This is my home.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Is anybody else? Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Arturo Munoz. I live at 67 Churchill Lane. I'm Lisa's husband. And I wanted to talk about that property that you want to build a house on. First of all, the house is going to be 2 stories, so it's not going to be the same as any of the other houses on the block. The other thing also is we get a lot of deer in that area. And I've seen a lot of deer behind my property. And the deer actually go through that property that's there. And we're going to lose that. We got a lot of nature in that area. We have foxes, which live in that lot, and the other 2 lots behind my house. We have turtles. I mean, you know, I hate to bring that up, turtles, because I was putting up a fence on my backyard, and I made a little hole for the turtle to go back in and out. So we're going to lose all that. We got a lot of animals living in that lot. One suggestion I had is maybe if the people that own the lot want to make money on the lot, instead of putting the house, Smithtown can buy the lot. The town can buy it, partially clear it, and I'm sure Mike will probably maintain it because he already has. He's starting to maintain part of that property and put a bench there or something. Make it a little area where people can sit down, because there are a lot of people walk up and down the block. I think that would actually look better than putting in a box in that property. Okay? Not to say what it's gonna impact, it's gonna be another 1 or 2 cars on that road. It's gonna be maybe a couple of kids in school that have to go to the corner and pick up the bus. So it's gonna be more people in Smithtown. I think we have enough people in that area. Every single lot has a house on it, just about. Can we just keep one lot clean and clear? I mean, there's a lot of construction going on. I just seen what happened down on Jericho Turnpike, right next to the, where they have the apartments. I mean, they're tearing that whole area apart. It's about 10 acres, okay? They're removing half a mountain out of there. And I wondered about what happened with all the animals that were living in there, okay? Even animals we hate, possums. I've seen a lot of possums around there, even though they're ugly. They're part of the, you know, nature in Smithtown. That's one of the reasons I love Smithtown. I used to get up early in the morning, and I would see deer galloping down the street, foxes. It was, and a lot of that stuff is starting to disappear. I'm gonna kill everything. So that's my suggestion. The town buys that property
Okay.
so that nothing can get built on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who's next? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Frank Antico, A-N-T-I-C-O. I reside at 65 Churchill Lane in Smithtown, 11787. I officially oppose the variance based on the square footage. It's half, as been stated before, it's half-acre zoning. My house is half-acre. My neighbor's house is half-acre. I know other variances to build houses on less than half-acre. Just set a bad precedent. What's to stop somebody from taking, you know, I know somebody just around the corner has more than a half acre. They have like 3 acres. So what's to prevent them from putting multiple houses on that? The zoning board is what prevents them from doing that. So for me, it's just setting a bad precedent. So I officially oppose it.
All right, thank you very much. Who's next? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Eric Latanzi, Lattanzi. I reside at 34 Bayberry Lane, 11787, and I too disagree with building that house. I mean, as other people have stated, when we moved 30-something years ago into the area, we were said, you know, half-acre lots, houses set nice far back. And yes, some houses have more land, but to just try to stick a house, and I don't know how the zoning is going to fit a driveway. I know they want a house there, which would be nice. They're like, oh, we'll have a neighbor, we'll have another house. The driveway is going to be right next to each other. I don't know how far away your driveway has to be from your neighbors. And that little plot of land, I don't know where you're going to stick a driveway. And again, it is going to come right out into the street. A lot of the driveways are long, they're set back so people could see other people coming with bushes and stuff. But if you have a house set more forward, it's not really going to do much. It's going to make it more dangerous for the area. And yes, the Pines has very narrow roads. It was designed that way so people wouldn't park in the street. You had more cars, you get more accidents. It's a winding road, 34 Bayberry Lane. I lived there over 33 years of my life, and I really think it would not be a good decision. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else would like to speak on this application? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Paula Antico, A-N-T-I-C-O. I reside at 65 Churchill Lane in Smithtown. Basically, half-acre zoning, it's .37. And to say that woods are imperfect, woods are not fire hazards, then don't live in a wooded area. It definitely is wooded.
Excuse me, address the board.
It definitely is wooded.
Thank you.
But to say that it's a fire hazard, that's the beauty of the Pines. If you don't like that kind of area, then don't live here. But we have lots of woods around, and it's always imperfect because it's woods. So I am absolutely opposed to it. I think it's ridiculous to build a big house like that on, it's half-acre zoning. And as my husband said, what my sister-in-law lives in the Pines, she has 3/4 of an acre. I guess I can tell her to build a house for her son there too. It can't become that. That's just not what the neighborhood is. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who's next? Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Celeste Montes, and I live on... Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Monteson, Montesion. I live on Winston Drive. It's parallel to Bayberry. Okay? My parents owned that property years ago. They were the ones who filed for a variance, but unfortunately, they were going to build a house, but the person passed away, so the house was never built. But now the property was given to my brother. And he doesn't want to make money on it. He's paying taxes all these years for a piece of land that can't do anything with it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Another alternative, have the town buy it of Smithtown and make a park there. I don't know what else to say. I mean, the property belonged to my parents. I don't own the property. It was given to my brother.
All right.
Okay?
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that'd like to be heard? Anyone? Once I bring Mr. Tramarko back, that's it. All right, Mr. Tramarko? One second, Vinnie. Oh.
My name is Michael Rico. I'm her brother. I own the property. RICCO. Huntington address. 30 Drohan Street, Huntington. I have the property. My father gave it to me. But we were planning on building also, but our lives have changed a little bit, so we're not going to build there. So now it's up for sale. I really can't use it. It's sitting there all these years. Let's sell it. The property, nobody's dumping on this property.
Excuse me, address the board.
Nobody's dumping on this property. There are dead trees on the property, but it's an old piece of property. Trees die. So I had a tree guy in there one time clearing out some of the dead trees. But I can't keep getting a guy in there every week to clear out what dies. We put it up for sale. There was the variance that was applied for by my father, and that didn't work out, and it lapsed. And that was the end of that, but we assumed it was going to be buildable, otherwise I wouldn't pay the taxes. You know, the town must have thought one time it was legal to put a house there. My parents live on Winston Drive. They split a 100-foot lot into two pieces. There are two separate lots on Winston Drive where my parents lived and his parents lived on 26 Winston Drive. So it's not the only piece of property that's built on less than a half an acre. And I think there are other ones in the Pines. I don't know where they are, but I'm sure there are others based on the history.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call. All right, Mr. Tramarko?
Wow. Okay, so obviously my client is a builder, an entrepreneur, and there's nothing wrong with entrepreneurs. I would venture to say that every house built on that property was either built by the homeowner or a builder. So, of course, people that are in the building business are in the business to make money, not to lose money, obviously. It also seems to me that many of the people that come out and objected tonight seem to be upset more with the style of the house than, I guess, than the building itself. Well, I guess this is the new style house. Houses built 50 and 60 years ago certainly with different styles, and things change. The house is set back 52 feet. The requirement is 50 feet. So I'm not so sure about the gentleman who said he's going to be looking at a house. It's the normal setback is 50 feet. We actually went back 2 more feet, I guess just to make it more palatable when viewing the premises from the road. The other thing is, all of these houses in the area are built already. So for someone to come in and say, I want to split the property, other properties, they'd have to knock down a house and come to this board and ask for permission. The health department would never allow it because, as I said before, the requirement is the property has to have a separate tax bill since prior to 1980. So based upon all of this, it's probably better for the neighborhood to have a house there, which will enhance the character of the area and bring up the property values. As the last gentleman said, the brother, he's paid taxes on this property for many, many, many years, and his parents before him. So given all of the facts, we ask the board for its favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. And that concludes the meeting for tonight.
Second.
A motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 4-0. Next case is case 19203, Anna Marie and Darren Daniels.
Case 19203, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
4, thanks.
A motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Aye, aye, aye. Motion carried, 4-0.
Adrian's proofreading me here.
Next case is case 19205, Leah Betts.
Case 19205, your comment just had to do with the DEC.
Correct, yep.
They have to do that just to get the permit anyway, so we don't need to do anything with that.
Letting them know they should do that.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried, 4-0. Next case is case 19206, Yvonne Yankowitz.
What? Case 19206, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
See, they're laughing. I don't know.
Sorry.
Always remember, we still have yours to vote on.
I know.
Ooh. Oh.
They'll be running me out of town.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 4-0. Next case is case 19207, Catherine O'Neill.
Case 19207, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Are we going to put a
Second.
condition that they remove the overgrown?
I was thinking about that. It really doesn't relate to the variance, so it doesn't have to.
Well, the thing of it is that the overgrown, whatever it is basically going out to the road, and it's on a curve. So when you're
Yeah.
driving northbound on Nichols, heading towards the mall, you're coming around a curve, so it's kind of like a blind
Is
spot.
it in the right of way?
It's going into the right of way.
Okay, so, okay.
You
So,
haven't been there because they said they removed a lot.
I haven't been there since a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
I go by there every day. You can't, until, they put the light up and it says no turn, from Gibbs Pond, no turn on red.
Okay.
Right-hand turn on red. And I'll tell you, it makes a big difference, because people used to just make that turn. You couldn't see anybody coming, Matter of fact, my neighbor got in an accident because of that a couple of years ago. But if they could remove some of the brush going back maybe 20 feet, that's growing on the
property
fence.
line, it would give you a 10-foot.
So we want the applicant, as a condition, to remove the vegetation in the right-of-way along Gibbs Pond,
Along the fence line.
along the fence line on Gibbs
Yeah.
Pond Road.
Yep. You second, Bill?
Second?
Okay. The motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Is it Gibbs Pond or Nichols?
It's Nichols.
All right, Nichols Road.
Oh, wait a minute, I got the,
Okay.
is that the right one? Okay. Next case is case 19208, Gabriella Ponteri Dines,
No
So
action.
no action.
No action.
no action.
Whole lot of it.
Next case is case 19209, Carrie Palmer.
Case 19209, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second?
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19211, Michael Madden, no action. Next case is case 19212, Ross Reifman, no action. Next case is case 19210, Edward R., no action.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Next case is case 19204, JLP and Associates.
Case 19204, you guys want to discuss it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that the minimal reduction in the lot size and the minimal setback variances certainly are warranted, especially in light of the fact that there was a previous approval from the board back in 1969. And I think that the benefit to the applicant certainly outweighs any detriment to the community, as it's substantially the same size lot. I mean, it's a .37 versus .50. It's not, it's only 5,000 square feet smaller than the
Right.
the size of the lots that would be built, that would be buildable as of right.
There's no FAR that is needed on this property also.
And there were a number of neighbors that came out in support of it, you know, indicating that the lot itself was an eyesore. There's dumping going on there, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I just personally think, I mean, there were some arguments against it, but they really weren't valid arguments to sway my decision to make me think that it shouldn't be approved.
Most of them just was the style of the house.
You guys
Mhm.
in favor of approving, or?
I am.
Bill?
Okay.
All right. Case 19204, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second?
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case was case 1-17981, David Ameni. That has been adjourned to November 19th. All right, on the back of the page, the first case was case number 18406, MJ Industries LLC.
Case 18406. I have a list that I'd like to go through on the relief being requested. We'll go through them one at a time. Is that okay with you guys?
Fine.
Special exception to maintain outdoor storage in the LI zoning district be approved with conditions. Special exception to maintain a trucking station be approved with conditions. Certificate of existing use for materials processing for cement batching be approved with conditions. Variance of a special exception standard to increase the amount of storage from 1 times to 8.4 times the gross floor area be approved with conditions. Variance of a special exception standard to reduce the setback of outdoor storage from all streets and residence districts from 100 to 0 be approved with conditions. Variance of a special exception standard to eliminate the densely planted tree and shrubs in the required 100-foot buffer be approved with conditions. Variance of a special exception standard to increase the maximum height of outdoor storage from 6 feet to 20 feet be approved to 10 feet only. Variance of a special exception standard that requires a trucking station to have a densely planted buffer at least 50 feet deep to any residence district be approved with conditions. Variance of a special exception standard that prohibits fuel storage above ground be approved. Variance to reduce the front yard setback on Montclair Avenue from 50 feet to 15 feet for existing fences, walls, and outdoor storage be approved with conditions. Variance to reduce the front yard setback on Harvard Street from 50 feet to 0 feet for existing fences, walls, outdoor storage, and sheds. Is that deny without prejudice? Because it would just deny it? Variance to reduce parking setback from south property line from 6 feet to 0 be approved. Variance to increase the height of a retaining wall from 6 feet to 11 feet be approved. Variance to reduce the setback of a 6-foot fence from the top of an 11-foot retaining wall from 11 feet to 0 feet be approved. Variance to increase the height of a 6-foot fence on top of an 11-foot retaining wall from 6 feet to 17 feet be approved. Variance to reduce the minimum setback of an existing 6-foot retaining wall from any lot line from 6 feet to 0 feet be approved with conditions. Variance to eliminate the required landscape islands in the required parking areas be approved. Variance to increase the height of an accessory structure, truck garage, from 18 feet to 30 feet be approved. And the conditions are as follows. Outdoor storage shall not be visible from Montclair Avenue. 2, additional landscaping shall be installed as deemed necessary by the Board of Site Plan Review. 3, the former cement batching tower shall be removed. 4, a paved employee parking area built to town specifications shall be installed in accordance with the latest plans and as deemed necessary by the Board of Site Plan Review. And 5, the proposed cement batching equipment and materials processing shall be restricted to the area as outlined on the latest plan presented to the board and shall be subject to the requirements of the Board of Site Plan Review. I'd also like to make part of the record the decision and the findings of fact. So that's a separate motion? Okay, so we'll make a motion on the merits. Well, all right, first
We have to
SECR.
adopt the CEQA first.
So SECR,
Can I have a motion to adopt the CEQA?
okay.
You made a motion. Bill, you seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the CEQA?
Aye.
Aye.
CEQA is adopted 4-0. Now on the merits.
On the merits, I made a motion to approve with conditions.
That's it.
Second.
Second.
Second?
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
And I'd like to make a motion to adopt the findings of fact and decision.
Second.
Second?
Motion has been made to adopt the findings of fact. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 4-0.
You need these? Or you want to email us?
All right. Next case is case 19140, Comac Shopping Center. I don't think you were here for that, Tony, were you?
625, I'll tell you in a
No, we
second.
were not, either was I.
It's only two of you. Can you vote without
We can't,
Paul?
Paul's not here. We can't vote on this.
Yeah, it's not here.
Both of you were not present for that?
No.
Okay.
All right? Do you have a PAR in this, please?
No, oh, wait a minute, yes, we do, but we also did hang on one second. We did
I don't
a
even know.
recommendation,
Excuse me, I don't think Paul was here either.
Paul on the board too?
Yeah.
October of '24?
What's
June-
that? No, Paul was here for this one.
I'm sorry, not October.
6/25?
This was,
June 25th.
June
June.
25th.
Was he?
didn't he start near the beginning of the year? I thought he did. I thought he started right after
What are we talking about?
Steve left.
This one, 625.
Yeah,
Okay.
you weren't here.
Tony wasn't here.
And- Yeah, the three of us were here.
Okay.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have been hearing any cases.
It was you,
And
Bill,
Paul.
and Paul.
Right,
Okay.
so no action on this.
8-6.
Oh.
Next case is case 19159, Christy and Christopher Aroni?
I had no problem with this one.
I didn't either.
No?
Case 19159, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next case is case 19190, Fabio Anselmo.
So that was
I
last
didn't
meeting.
have a problem with this either.
1919.
Comment to add,
What?
that there was an encroachment, the building noted, that existing retaining wall A that had an existing 6-foot PVC fence on top encroaches into the neighbor to the east.
Okay, so case 19190, I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that any encroachments be brought into compliance.
Did you say east?
Okay.
You
Second.
said east?
Yes, east.
All righty.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19193, John McIntosh and James Vita. Or Vita James?
I had no problem with this one.
I think that was Health Department, right?
That was secret.
Oh,
Just wanted minutes, so we're satisfied.
Case 19193, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19194, Wisconsin Gas Haven, Inc.
Oh, please.
I didn't have a
I was
problem
fine
with
with
this.
that.
I didn't have a problem with this
We-
one.
They, yeah, they,
Size of the car wash.
Yeah, that's
with
what
the
it was.
mechanical equipment.
Yep, I had no problem.
Okay.
Case 19194, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 19200, Daniel Cox. We need a sequa.
Secret?
Second.
Motion has been made to approve the sequa. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the sequa 4-0. Now on the merits.
On the merits, I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that the applicant files a covenant and restriction with the county clerk, that the two-story garage is not to be used as habitable space, and that no plumbing is to be installed other than one slop sink on the first floor.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
No plumbing is to be installed other than one slop sink on the first floor.
Next case is case 18566, Maria Bonalone.
914, now, hold on. What? We didn't have a meeting on 914. Is it 910? Oh, 2021.
Yeah, 2021.
You're gonna have to bring us up to speed on that one, Blaze.
Oh, come on. What do you think? Carrie stuff? 18566.
Oh, it's just an extension of time.
Oh, is that what that is?
It's gotta be.
The hell? Yeah, request extension of time. March 13th of 2025.
All right, so case 18566 is an extension of time. They're requesting to go to March 13th, 2025. Is everybody agreeable with that?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
The extension's approved 4-0. And the next case is case 19148, Savron Realty Properties. They're requesting a reopening.
That is,
Is that in the town?
that was the proposed two-story dental office on Bank Street. They were going to remove the existing one-story house, excuse me, and build a two-story office building, and they wanted to have parking in the front.
We weren't here.
So neither of you were here.
Nice.
Yeah, you can vote to reopen it.
Yeah, okay. Bottom line is, we've been going back and forth with them about the design. Their design that they wanted to go with really didn't meet the intention of the master plan when it comes to the downtown Smithtown area. We told them that they really should have the building moved closer to the front of the property with parking in the rear. Obviously, they have issues because it's a very narrow lot. What they have done, though, is they have revised the plan, they brought the building forward, it's in line with all the other buildings on Bank. There won't be any parking in the back, but, you know, there is other parking in the area, there is curbside parking, on-street parking that they can utilize, and they'd like to come back and have the board take a look at it, we don't object.
How does the November 19th meeting look?
As of today, close of business, we had 4 applications, new applications, and whatever we have adjourned.
1. All right, so let's put this on. Well, Bill and I have to vote, right?
Yes.
So case 19148, they're requesting to reopen. Bill?
Second?
Bill approves it, I
Okay,
approve
yes.
it, so it's approved, and we'll put them on for November 19th. And I think that concludes the meeting for tonight.
We got this thing.
Yes, sorry. Thank you.
What?
There is an item on the back that we do have to discuss with the board, and I'm hoping that all of you were here for this meeting, otherwise we have a problem. So on the back of the agenda, there is case number 19157, Eric and Nicole Vandermolen. It's an application that came before the board for an existing home that's proposing first and second floor additions. The biggest issue with their proposal is that they are within the LWRP, and the amount of FAR they're looking for is 36%? Okay. The LWRP determination review is complete. It's not consistent with the policies with the LWRP. We believe that the board probably doesn't want to approve more than 34% because that's generally the baseline that you say is the maximum that you will
Is this an
approve
R10?
in R10. Liam and I both sat down and went over the plans that they submitted, trying to find ways where we could eliminate floor area to meet that 34% threshold. Basically, they have to remove approximately 168 square feet in order to bring the number down to 34%. We really couldn't come up with those numbers, so we're asking the board to take a look at it. Maybe Tony, because he can do this, can take a look at the plans. Maybe he could make a few suggestions that might get us closer to that 168 square feet. And if that's what you're all happy with, we can go back to the applicant and we can tell them that this is what you're looking for.
It looks like they were only adding, is this a new? This is just an addition. of
It's
like
an
800
existing home, and they've got
It's an addition of
how many
888
additions?
square feet?
They've got, I don't know, 3 separate additions, yeah. 1 first floor and 2 second floor? Yep. Let me see if I can, what are they? 1911? 9157, hang on. 19157, okay. Reduce the front yard from 25 to 23 for a proposed 100 square foot roof over. Reduce the side yard from 12 to 9 for a proposed 247 square foot second story addition over patio. Reduce total side yards for a proposed 247 square foot second floor addition and 336 square foot second-story addition over carport. So that's what, 613 square feet? Reduce the rear yard from 35 to 29 for a 216 square foot second floor deck, 247 square foot second-story addition, and that's over patio. Increase the FAR from 30 to 36%. And increase the amount of FAR within the LWRP from 2,000 square feet to 2888.
So this was that application, I think they talked about, this was just going over the existing footprint of the house?
They were actually expanding it a little bit beyond the existing footprint. I believe mostly on the second floor? Yeah.
So is it it's obviously a substandard lot?
Yeah. I believe we have the file in the box.
I can look at it, it's just, they're only asking for 880 square feet to cut 150 square feet out of that for the sake of meeting numbers. Is really gonna.
Again, it's up to you. If
I
all
put
of
in
you.
mine, I don't know, did you guys look at your notes? Because my notes said approve as presented. This is one of those ones, at least I look at it as, if you stick to just the percentages, when you're on a smaller lot, you're penalizing somebody for living on a smaller lot and saying, we're gonna stick you to this percentage number, where that would mean a much bigger deal if they were in, say, Fort Salonga in the R43. And you're saying, we wanna go to 34%, now you're talking about a massive house. This is a normal size house,
What's the size of the lot?
8,000.
8,000.
What did you guys have?
I didn't have a problem with it.
I mean, like anything else, it's, you may say it sets a precedent, but it doesn't, because we've approved higher in the past, and you gotta look at each case on its own
Yeah.
merits.
So if it was 10,000 square feet, the FAR would be?
28.
Yeah.
It's over by virtue of the fact that it's a smaller lot. So if the house next door is on a 10,000 square foot lot, the two houses could look identical, it's just one's on a smaller lot.
The only comment that I could make to that would be, on a number of occasions, we have people coming in, particularly in the San Remo area. They're on undersized lots. They are expanding the house. So it would be setting a precedent for that particular situation of smaller lots wanting more floor area, but they go over their maximum FAR.
But we've done that in the past.
You
I think
have
the
done it in
concern is the
past.
bulk though, right? Is that the main reason that we try to keep it?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it's trying to maintain a balance between what the ordinance permits and what the LWRP permits, and, you know, what would be reasonable to anybody.
What was the percentage that they're at? 51? No, that's paving, sorry.
36,
36%.
36%.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with this one.
I didn't either.
Be reminded, precedent doesn't control.
Yeah.
Each
Right.
case rises and sets on its own facts and
Absolutely.
circumstances. So if you differentiate why this particular property may or may not be entitled to certain relief, you do that on the record. We go forward and we defend if necessary, but you're free to do that.
Well, I look at this one as, if you look at the relief that they're requesting, the setbacks are somewhat minimal. I thought that they were going over the existing footprint. It looks like they were expanding for a roof over on the front, but I thought the house itself was staying.
They're also adding, if I'm not mistaken, on the first floor, a carport on one side that they're going over with a second-story addition. On the opposite side of the house, they're basically building on top of a roofed-over patio. So the one side is definitely being pushed out, and the back of the house is being pushed out.
So, and the relief was from 12 foot to 9 foot?
Yes.
And total side yard from 35 to 29? No front yard, no rear yard? Oh, front yard setback to,
That's
2 foot
20
setback for the
yes,
roof,
2 foot
over
setback.
porch?
Yeah.
Well, this one does not seem as impacting. I think the benefit to the applicant outweighs any detriment to the neighbors because it's not really as impacting as some other ones that we've seen.
I agree.
It's up to you guys.
What do you guys have?
No, I don't agree. You know what happens? You're gonna get, the lawyers come in, and they're gonna go rattle off all these cases that we approved. We don't ask them to justify anything. You know, they just go, you approve this to 35, you approve this to 36, you approve that to 31, you approve. We don't say, compared to what? You know? Show me what's the difference between the application that you're doing right now and these other ones. We don't, maybe it's our fault, we don't ask.
But if I
Well,
can
yeah.
justify it in my head for this application, we're gonna get the Don King cases that come in here to 50% that we've set precedent years and years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
That they're gonna use. I'm not trying to argue with that, I'm just saying.
Oh, I know.
If I can justify it in my head that I am looking at this from an unbiased perspective, saying, is this as impacting, is 36% on this site as impacting as
Yeah.
a similar percentage on, say, a larger lot, and I say, I can justify it in my head that I can approve it here, it makes sense to me, regardless of what precedent, you know, because the precedents have been set far in excess of what this one is.
I'm just worried about the ones that we denied already. Were they on 8,000 square foot?
Yeah, but when they come in with all these different things from the lawyers, we look at every one of those ones.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't question them.
Yes, we do.
Well, we don't question them, but we'll pull we'll pull it after the meeting and take a look.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean,
My thing is, how many did we deny that were on an 8,000 square foot lot, just like this guy's? Huh?
I don't want to say.
well, I would put it to you this way, Ed, do you think taking 150 square feet out of an 800 square foot addition is gonna make that much of a difference for the sake of meeting a percentage?
Yeah.
Okay, I disagree, but obviously that's why we're a board.
Well, you can,
Yeah.
you can vote. I'm gonna
Yeah.
vote no, you know. Bill?
I'll make the motion, and then how it falls, it falls. If it goes 2-2,
Yeah.
it's the same as a denial.
Yeah.
You can't vote because there's no secret, but can we have a conversation about this? off the
I
record?
personally, on the record, would approve this application.
I would approve this application.
I would not.
That's okay. We're deliberating. That's what we're supposed to do.
So,
Yep, okay. So then I have to remind the board of a case that came before it recently. In this area, in San Remo, on an undersized lot with no environmentally sensitive land that wanted to do additions to the house. It wasn't 36%, it was 37%, and the board said, no, we're only giving you 34%.
But that was a completely different application that was that had opposition, and it was much closer to the property
I don't
lines.
think anybody opposed that application other than what the comments we made on the record. And it's similar in the sense, it's in the same area, it's an undersized lot, there's no ESL. The only hardship they had, like this person, is that they have an undersized lot, and they're looking to expand their home.
And the
And now
setbacks
those
were,
people were limited to 34, so how much different is this case than that one? That
Yeah.
you could say, okay, they were limited to 34, but they can have 36.
I think we have to look at each case individually. I'm sorry, I think, we don't,
Before you make a decision as well, it's pending secret anyway, so look at both.
yeah, why don't we do that? But I remember that application, and I know they were looking for significant setbacks.
Okay, so we'll try to have a conversation with them about it.
What?
We'll try to have a conversation with them about it and, pass on your comments. Do you want to take a look at some of the other cases before saying definitively, let it go as is?
Well, do you have the ones that are similar?
I don't have them here, but I can
Well,
certainly get them.
Just email the case numbers and we can come in and look at them.
Okay. That's it.
That is all.
Thank you, Sabrina.